problem.
Welcome to Mattowarrior's Metal Madness.
All right. Yeah, I love that warning.
Oh,
You guys hear
I
that
just got
warning?
it too.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so today on Mattowarrior's Metal Madness, we're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Glenn Danzig.
Right.
And I think, Ryan, you saw my infamous video that has about, I don't know, it's about 8,000 or something.
Danzig is done. Yep.
Yeah, that's terrible video.
I sure have.
Years back. But yeah, I just wanted to it's not really like I'm not doing this as like a I apologize, Glenn, for my video. I don't know,
No.
but I just wanted to kind of talk about it. I just think he's a fascinating guy, you know. So
Yeah,
For sure.
to say the least.
yeah. So I thought you guys both had a pretty in-depth knowledge on that too. So like we both have been into him for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, I wrote down a bunch of stuff. So how did you guys get into Danzig? Let me know each one of you.
Yeah. You want to go first, Bob?
Why not? I first saw Danzig. Matt would remember this. There was a public access station in this area called the Jukebox Network, which you would look at the screen. It'd be literally like a jukebox, and you would call on the phone to request a music video. And it was pretty fascinating because a lot of people who were using this were requesting videos that weren't exactly mainstream. You know, you would see stuff you weren't really seeing on MTV, and that's where I first saw the video. She Rides was shown a lot on this Jukebox Network, and that's where I first saw it and was fascinated by it. I mean, because I'd never seen anything quite like that, and I didn't even know whether or not at the time to place him as a heavy metal artist or not. I wasn't even sure of that. I mean, at that time, I was 12. The only heavy metal I really knew of at that point was like Maiden, Priest, Metallica, Megadeth, you know, and it didn't go much beyond that. So, yeah, that was kind of difficult to determine, but I knew I liked it. And I did end up buying that first album and just immediately loved the entire thing and thought, yeah, I think it qualifies. Even though it sounds different, I think it still qualifies for sure. Yeah. And then from there on, you know, I would get new albums as they came out. So yeah, I was 12 and it was from that public access station. You remember that, Matt, don't you?
Oh yeah, the video the jukebox channel was actually, I think it was cable. I don't know if you.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was really strange. Like people would call in, and erotica was really popular on there. That was a little later. Madonna's erotica uncensored video.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, honestly, that is where I first saw a Suicidal Tendencies video, and that's where I saw a Testament video. There's a lot of stuff I saw on that channel, but Danzig really stood out.
Yeah, it seems like people would pick like 4 or 5 videos. That was one of them. And bass in your boombox, which I can't find that song. Remember that rap song?
Yep. Can't find it anywhere.
It's hard to find. Terrible. So how about you, Ryan?
So I first heard anything Danzig related when I was in middle school. So this was probably 2001. And there was a couple guys, maybe like 2 grades ahead of me, and they both had Misfit shirts. And one of them was just the Crimson Ghost, but this other guy had this Misfit shirt that it's one of the old classic like pus head designs. It's like the skull, and it's got the devil lock coming down, it's holding the eyeball.
Yep.
And I saw that shirt, and I was like, whoa, what is this? So I checked out the Misfits. So I heard that first, went out and bought Walk Among Us, and that just sucked me in right away. So I got hooked on the Misfits, and then in researching them, I came across Danzig. I heard his solo stuff next. Ended up hearing, the self-titled album first. The classic cuts like, Twist of Cain, Mother, Am I Demon? And I thought it was great. I didn't hear Sam Hain until that was the last Danzig project I heard. And I didn't really like it at first, which is kind of funny because Sam Hain, I think nowadays is probably my favorite project that he was ever involved with. So that's kind of my timeline. So yeah, I was probably about 11 when I first heard the Misfits. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's almost sort of the opposite. I didn't even know about the Misfits until I want to say like 2 years later, Matt. You had a cassette, Earth AD, that you lended to me, and I'm like, wow, Danzig was in another band. I didn't even know that for a while.
Well, I was going to this private school for like 1 year, because my parents fought over it, but it was like a very progressive school, so to speak. But I would walk from there to, the downtown, which here in Madison is State Street. And I would see people with Misfits shirts, and I was really fascinated by the artwork myself.
Yeah.
So then, I put the two and two together somehow with Bob, and I think we lent each other tapes, Earth AD, and I lent you Earth AD, and you lent me Danzig 1. So that kind of got the start. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
times.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, pre-internet, you had to kind of figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, back then I couldn't even use the internet back then. I wasn't allowed at that point. So
wow.
So it was, went out to the record store and picked up the CDs. I guess this was, looking back now, I got pretty lucky because I don't know if Walk Among Us, the CD, is even in print anymore. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not. Up until probably about a few months back, I started noticing it's just going for insane prices now. Whereas maybe 2 years ago, you could get it.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's on Spotify anymore. I think they took it off.
I think they did too.
I actually did just buy that for like $50, by the way. So I had a copy somewhere, but I don't know. I have it sort of. But yeah. So I mean, what was funny during that time, speaking of the pre-internet, it's like there are all these rumors about bands and stuff, and all these rumored Misfits albums that didn't exist that people would like start talking about. And where's Last Caress? What are the lyrics? What are the lyrics to all these songs? It was like something that was really, there was a lot of folklore around that, or mythology. Because I remember kids telling me, that was on Green Hell, the album, Last Caress. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And maybe there were bootlegs.
You scramble around looking for these fictional albums, that aren't even there.
Right.
Yeah, it got confusing.
Right. And it's interesting because when I look back at when I first discovered the Misfits, it seemed like a lot of people were wearing their shirts, and it was just sort of becoming this phenomenon again. And I think it's because it was right in the middle of the Graves era. Those albums, Famous Monsters and American Psycho had come out, and they were signed to Roadrunner, so I don't know, it seemed like they were making a splash again, and all of a sudden everyone was starting to, their shirts were popping up more and more, and so.
Yeah, they did get more exposure, and they were, I think, part of the WWE or something like that for a little while.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the name was out there, and the image was out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also they had some like exclusive deals with Hot Topic, I believe, at the time, because I think Jerry only won one part of the lawsuit with Danzig, so
right,
all the merch stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there were action figures. There was all kinds of stuff at Hot Topic, I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not that I frequented Hot Topic, but I've been there a few times, and there was some neat stuff there. Yeah.
They've really gone downhill. They're just basically like a anime place now.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I'm just like, what?
I mean, I
And
like
as
a little
much,
bit of that stuff, but
yeah.
oh, keep going. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, as much as I loved, when we got into Danzig, we got into it, really hardcore because it was,
Yeah.
it's just so different. But discovering the Misfits though was, to me, equally, if not more, is exciting, just because that was right up my alley at the time. Being the big horror movie fan, I I mean, I like the metal stuff, but there wasn't a lot of stuff that was specifically themed to horror. I mean, there was, but I wasn't aware of it. And the Misfits was, really eye opening,
Yeah.
because that was just right up the alley of all the stuff I was into as well. And they had this sort of slightly 50s ish vibe to them
Mm-hmm.
that I've also really, really liked. So it was, yeah, between that and Danzig, I mean, for a couple of years there, all throughout middle school anyway, it's like they were the cream of the crop for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. I was listening to them, and I would like alternate. I would listen to Earth AD when I got home every day in middle school, pretty much, and or Walk Among Us, and then I would watch the 700 Club at night for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Not to cleanse
Earth
myself
yeah.
of anything, but just I always had weird fascinations as a kid, I guess.
Yeah. Earth AD is probably my favorite Misfits record these days, I would say. I don't know. I going back, listening to their discography recently, I think Earth AD is probably my favorite. It's just something. I don't know. It's really just aggressive and just kind of more mean spirited than the early stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. It kind of
Yeah.
lost a little bit of that 50s ish, and it
Yeah.
sounds like it's recorded like in a subterranean cavern.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really got a sound to it that, I mean, and that cassette tape that Matt had was just shitty.
Yeah.
But we loved it. I mean, it already sounded terrible, but that cassette tape just made it even worse. But it was cool though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was so crazy. Well, yeah, that was produced by Black Flag's producer Spot, and then because they had kind
That's
of
right.
a affinity with Black Flag and Spot, and then Robo was on the drums at that point from Black Flag.
Right.
And if you read about how they felt about Spot, Black Flag, I don't know. I mean, I think he did cool stuff, but the recordings were never that great. I know Rollins hates his production. He says, "Oh, you said I ruined Black Flag. I think you did."
Right.
Holy shit, Jesus Christ! No, I don't agree with that. But he was a producer on that, so I don't know. Yeah, that was an interesting time to get into stuff too, because it was pre-internet, but there were so many magazines and so many things out, but like a lot of it was word of mouth, so there was a lot of things that got twisted up and stuff too. So, but growing up in this town, we would have there was a lot of bootlegs too, like at a place called Mad City Music. I remember when I first saw the first Danzig album, though. I was at this place because I would walk downtown in sixth grade because I would take the bus from that middle school, that private school, and I went to this place called Wazoo Records, and I thought I saw the first Danzig album, and I was like, those guys look like scary bikers.
Yeah.
Opened up the sleeve, and then I saw like G.G. Allen's, like had all the warning stickers on it, like not to sell below the age of 18. And there was all sorts of stuff I saw at that record store, but that was before I even heard any of that stuff. But it was just an interesting, eye-opening experience, I guess.
That's cool.
I bought so much stuff at that record store. So,
and yeah, you bring that up, and that was another thing about my attraction to Danzig, is they look like biker guys. I was so used to the way that when you would see live footage or videos of like Iron Maiden, and I associated the look with that. So yeah, it was really unique. They weren't all buff. Danzig was buff, but they all looked sinister except for Chuck. He kind of stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. He didn't dye his hair black.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
it was kind of a super group because if you think about it, other than Eerie Von, who does have, he's not that bad, but he has some bass skills, but like he wasn't like a super flashy shred bassist, but it was a super group. Chuck Biscuits had played for so many bands like DOA and Black Flag and stuff. So
Right.
Glenn wanted to choose him, and then he had Rick Rubin. But yeah, that was I've listened to a ton of stuff about the making of that first album. It's just really interesting how it was made and stuff, and Rick Rubin had a lot to do with that. But of course,
it shows too. Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably my favorite thing that he's done in a way, because it sounds like it was recorded in like 1974. It was recorded in 1988. So
it's funny as I was watching an interview with Henry Rollins probably about a year ago, and they asked him about Danzig, and they were like, "Hey, what do you think of the first Danzig album just come out?" And they're like, "Hey, what do you think of Danzig's new album? I know you guys were friends and everything." And he's like, "Honestly, I don't like it. It sounds too much like the Cult. I don't like it." He thought it sounded like the Cult. Yeah.
Yeah, because Rubin had worked with a Cult too. I mean, it's very AC/DC, obsessed with AC/DC.
Yeah.
I think Glenn likes AC/DC, and so does obviously John Christ. But it's like AC/DC with Black Sabbath, and I would dare say 70s Judas Priest a little bit on a couple of the songs, but that I know Glenn doesn't hates that idea, but I hear it, or maybe even like some Ted Nugent or something too.
Yeah.
All into that.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's the Danzig twist on classic rock almost.
Yeah.
It's similar to like what his take on punk rock was. It was this weird, didn't sound like the other punk rock of the time. But it almost seems, like his version of like those classic rock bands. That first album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he never repeated that sound. None of his albums ever sounded like that. And I really love that one.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You're right. Especially when you go into Lucifuge, it's like even the production, it sounds, it's different,
Mm-hmm.
I know Rubin still produced it, but from what I understand, I guess Glenn really took the reins when it came to production after that first record. And, you can tell it's almost got more of a, like a punchier kind of sound a little bit, not as bare bones.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's trying more styles on that one, and
oh yeah,
for sure, like Blood and Tears or I Am the One,
Yeah.
Very different stuff. But I love that one too. That's a 4-star one for me.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say the first three, especially the first four, are undisputed classics. I don't think you can get. They're just perfection, in my opinion. But we'll get to that in a moment too, of course, because we have a lot of subjects written down.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what do you guys think of? What do you think he's trying to get across with his lyrics in Sam Hain and Danzig? What are your thoughts on that?
Wow.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if he has a message exactly. I've always liked them because they appeal to sort of that horror-esque part of me, But yeah, that's a hard one because I don't think he's satanic and he's trying to spread the word there. I don't think that's his thing.
No,
I'm sure a lot of people think that that's what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Sam Hain, I think he had it. To me, it seems like there was a really specific vision. It was to make this kind of really death rock, kind of hazy sounding cacophony of like punk rock. It was a really interesting, and the lyrics are. I mean, I read a lot of the Sam Hain lyrics, and it's like it's very rooted in that pagan. Some of the lyrics on that first album, Initium, they're pretty gruesome. I mean, like, you listen to lyrics on songs like The Howl, and it's like whoa, this is pretty. It's yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he loves tackling things that I guess in other hands would be, or subject matters that would be kind of ridiculous or silly, like with the Misfits and with Sam Hain. But he goes at it like really seriously, though. It's like tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff, but he's really not being that tongue-in-cheek about it, it seems like.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Like the Graves era Misfits seems more a little tongue-in-cheek and Halloween store-ish. But Danzig seems like he was tackling the same kind of silliness, but in a more darker, gruesome way.
Yeah. Well, if you watch like the first few Danzig, home videos, he's like, if I wasn't doing this music, I'd be a mass murderer or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and that was another thing too, renting that video when I first saw that at the grocery store. Yeah, I rented it from the grocery store. And to me, that was awesome. I mean, I watched it again. I've seen it a few times over the years, and it's, I mean, I think it's kind of funny. I mean, he's obviously like, he comes across like he's like irritated that he's even being interviewed. But at the same time, he obviously wrote the questions that are being asked of him.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just so weird to watch that.
Oh, yeah. I think going back to what you're saying about the lyrics, though, I think with Danzig, the solo, once he went solo, it's almost like he kind of... it just sounds like there's a lot of like this rebellious kind of nature in those lyrics. It's got that. It still kind of has that occult kind of thing going on that I think Sam Hain really honed in on. But it's got this like, it sounds like Left Hand Black and stuff like that. It's like these are very, they have this kind of rebellious feel to it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, I think he was more pagan than Sam Hain. He was more, like old school occultist in Danzig because like there's all the Aleister Crowley stuff at 777 and he reads a lot of weird stuff. I mean, his book collection is quite extensive, as we know.
Yeah, and it seems to be sitting next to a pool. What is with that like weird pool thing going on the books? You know what I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah.
I know what you're talking about, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I always thought he was sitting next to a pool.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's interesting. That how I don't know if you guys watched the tour of that house, after he moved and stuff. It's on YouTube.
Oh, God. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I have.
Yeah, they go to there's some. I don't know if there's like picture. There's a few different variations on these videos of his house, and they go in there and there's like Count Chocula boxes all over the place and like toys and stuff. And
it's
like shit. Like
in that Chuck Biscuit's house.
No, it's Glenn's. Yeah, it's Glenn's.
Yeah.
You remember that in the second video, right? Where Chuck Biscuits is doing that thing with the cereal boxes?
I did. Oh, yeah. I only saw that more recently because some of it's on YouTube.
I can only assume Glenn was just pissed at that because it's completely at odds with what all the other members are doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's like that whole sequence of like Glenn like howling like a wolf in slow motion and running with wolves and shit. And then you get like Chuck doing that thing with like
cereal. I'm right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think to be fair to Glenn, he has more of a sense of humor about himself now than he did like back then. I think because like the whole thing with Portlandia and also like the whole thing with I don't know. We'll talk about this in a minute, or a couple minutes. But his first movie that came out, I guess the theater were roaring with laughter at it. And he was not as offended as I expected him to be by that, if I recall the interviews.
Yeah. I guess.
Well, and he showed up like on Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes. So he
with
obviously
his blood sprinklers. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's changed a little bit. I mean, he has, but I think he still has. We'll get to that. I don't know. So, what are your favorite albums by each project that he's done? And I'm going to include like post first lineup too as like a fourth project. So we'll do 3.
Okay,
that makes sense. Or not three,
Yeah.
we'll do four. I mean,
Man, when it comes to Misfits, that's weird. It's like I don't just listen to one; I listen to them all when I do. But if I had to pick a favorite one, I suppose it's Walk Among Us. Yep, that one does it. As far as Samhain goes, I guess that one's a little easier. And Initium would be that one, and of course Danzig, the very first one.
Yeah. I would say for me, when it comes to for Misfits, I definitely got to go with Earth AD. Sam Hain's a tough one because I love both those out. I mean, I love technically three, but I would say Initium. It was November Coming Fire for years, but I've really grown to love Initium the most. And for Danzig solo, I would say probably from the classic lineup, I got to go with How the Gods Kill. And going into his post, post the iconic, the classic lineup era, I really like the Danzig 7 Illuciferi. Yeah, I would go with that one.
cool.
I suppose if we're going into those later ones, I mean, honestly, I gotta say, he kind of lost me after the band left, and after four, because it is him, but it's very obviously a different beast altogether without that group. But
oh yeah,
of those, I remember Black Laden Crown. Like, I remember not thinking that was that bad. I mean, I don't know if it's looked at as being really shitty or not. I don't know what the fans think of that one. I think Circle of Snakes was okay.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Circle Snakes. I kind of liked that one.
I did too. Yeah.
And this is kind of a side step here. When I got it, I think I was in middle school, was that Black Aria thing.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I mean, I liked like movie soundtracks and like horror movie soundtracks, and I had some of those, but this was like something, it wasn't attached to a particular movie. It was that kind of music and that kind of mood, and I really liked it. I never heard the second one.
I actually quite like it too. I've only recently got into it because I don't know. Sometimes I'll just get on a bender and listen to other stuff, and I don't think I gave it as enough of a chance back in the day. But it has. I mean, he definitely has talent on of doing soundscapes and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I agree with that. So for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. I got notes. Yeah. So what do you guys overall think of like how his career trajectory has gone? Do you think he's still has a deal of appeal to his music? Like, I'll just talk about the metal stuff first, and then we'll get into like the other projects that he has.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? How his career has gone? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting because I feel like in a way he's definitely an artist who has stuck to his guns and has always done exactly what he wants to do. But I think it's kind of certain things he's tried and experimented with have not been. I think first off, I think the classic lineup, I think it could have been a lot bigger than what it was, if it would have kept going, if he hadn't have broken up that lineup, I think it would have exploded even more. But he went straight into, headfirst into the industrial sound, and and from what I've read, it was like, people were not happy. I guess they were calling him Glenn Reznor, and you know,
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
yeah, I guess. And so he kind of, it seems like he just has made a lot of these weird choices, and we'll probably get to this more, I'm sure, but like, especially like in production with his newer albums, it's just the sound is just, I mean, oh my God, I don't know if you've heard that. The covers album he did, the sound is just horrific. It's you know, and so like I said, I think he's done exactly what he's wanted to do, and I think there's yeah, that's something that's really honorable to do. But I think there also should have maybe been somebody being like, hey, you know, maybe this isn't such a great idea.
Yeah, he's probably surrounded by yes men that don't want to exactly say, hey, Glenn, you might want to, you know, tone this down. You know, I mean, George Lucas probably, yeah, the same thing. But I totally agree. It's like I think he's doing what he wants to do. He probably really wanted to get an industrial album out. He probably always wanted to do it, and he did. People didn't like it, but he did it. And I agree that even though he's doing what he wants to do, it doesn't necessarily mean I have to be totally on board.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I guess I respect it more than I actually like it.
Yeah.
Even though there are some things here and there, because honestly, the music doesn't sound, the band he's got now and he's had forever, do not sound as, you know, as unique and groundbreaking as his original band.
No.
They don't sound exactly same old, but it's not as unique. I guess
I agree.
Yeah, I think that was funny because, you know, with the industrial album, he did start dressing in like what is it called? You know, the fishnet kind of stuff on.
Oh yeah, I've seen all the pictures.
I'm just like, okay, well, okay, you're not trying to be Trent Reznor, or you're saying that you don't like Trent Reznor. I know he's always liked industrial because he talked about Godflesh and all these bands on the Headbangers Ball. But then he had that single. What was it called? Was it God? What was the single from that?
The Sacrifice.
Sacrifice, and it was just like, yeah, it's kind of, you know, you're kind of going that direction a little more than you're probably fessing up to. And you know, I'm a fan of Trent, especially the early stuff, or like the, you know, up to like up to and including the Fragile. I don't think after that I'm kind of a little shaky on some of the stuff, other than some of the soundtrack stuff. But
Matt, did you buy Danzig 5 right when it came out?
I did not. I
did, and again, no internet, no magazines reviewing it. Totally going into it blind. In fact, I don't even recall if I knew at that point that the band was gone. I'm not even sure I knew that. But you know, right away, the first song, you know, that Seventh House, I'm kind of like,
I can't imagine.
But it's like, all right, on Danzig 4, he had this little kind of industrial sounding song, so let's go on. But, you know, the entire album was like that. And it just wasn't what I was expecting, so I didn't like it. But then I would go back and revisit and like, all right, I know what it's going to sound like. Is it good for what it is? And I still don't really like it. There's like one or two songs in there I don't mind, but it's kind of a long album, and there's a lot of filler on that.
That was the time of filler for sure, like when CDs were really prominent, you know, when bands were just...
I really like Danzig 4. I think it's a really good... It's grown on me more over the years. I mean, there's songs on there like Brand New God and Little Whip and Bringer of Death. I mean, those are really good songs. I like those.
I love Danzig 4. Yeah, I was talking about 5. But yeah, I love Danzig 4.
Danzig 4 is good. It's a little bit... Oh, keep going.
Yeah, I've heard some fans think it's like a step down or something. I mean, honestly, I think the momentum was still going with 4. I actually think 4 was really good.
Yeah. To me, it's a little bit of a step down, but not really by much. It's like, you know, 10% step down maybe, and I really do like it. I didn't buy it until, God, when was that? Probably 2 or 3 years after it came out. I never bought 5, and maybe I did more recently, like the last 10 years or so. But I never liked Danzig 5. As far as like what I would say is his like my favorites are probably my favorite Misfits album is Legacy of Brutality because it's Static Age basically with a couple of songs with Glenn doing this weird production on it that's
Yeah.
just it just has this vibe to it that I really like. And then I think that's one of the things about Danzig. His production style doesn't really translate well to digital.
Mm-mm.
I think that's part of the problem. Like when he was doing stuff with analog and all this experimental shitty sounding stuff, sometimes shitty sounding stuff, had more of a vibe, you know. And then with digital, he can't translate that to the thing there. So
Yeah.
Do you think now, like with that covers album, that Skeletons, like he's still trying to do that sound, but he can't do it in a digital way? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, kind of. I think he
Like,
just
because it does seem like that covers album is sort of trying to go for that purposely, misfitsy lo-fi sound. It seems like he's going for that, but kind of failing in a way.
yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've heard of Jay Raytard, who did Blood Visions. It's like a punk, you know.
Mm.
He died of a drug overdose like 2013, but he did some lo-fi stuff with digital and it sounded really good. Like that Blood Visions album, it's one of my favorite like modern punk albums. He recorded everything digital except for the drums, and it just sounds great. It sounds raw, and it sounds like it was. I was mistaken that it was recorded with analog, but it wasn't. So,
Oh, wow. I'll have to check that out.
like, that was what was weird about that. But yeah, I think just Danzig, I think it's a mixture of hubris and, trying to go for that sound. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing exactly, and then he tries to do everything himself, like the drums, even some of the time.
Oh,
like the-
God, yeah.
Like the cover of the ZZ Top, I think that was oh God, that was so bad.
Rough Boy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
ZZ Top from one of their more commercial albums, which is kind of funny too. Like if you think about it, like why would he do like not that it's bad, I'm just saying like why would he do like a ZZ Top from like it was Eliminator or was it from like the one after it? I think it was
Afterburner.
Yeah,
it might have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose he could have done "Give Me All Your Lovin'."
Yeah. Well, I always thought he should have done some Doors songs, and that really was one of my regrets of his whole career. Like, I don't know why he hasn't done one. Is that Lucifuge was definitely based on the first Doors album cover, the cover.
Yeah, you could tell by the cover.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I don't know, that's kind of weird that he did that. But yeah, I think it's cool that he does what he wants to do. He's not like swayed by trends all that much, like Metallica are, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna go back to metal, so we're gonna wear battle vests again and pretend we never went unmetal. Sorry to say, that's the truth.
Yeah, I think Glenn, he definitely, and I'm sure you guys will probably agree. He kind of had a little bit of a moment there in the 2000s. If you listen to some of those tracks on, like, the Satan's Child album or E Luciferide, there's some pretty new metal sounding songs on there.
Yeah, he was. He wasn't. I should have meant he wasn't as influenced by trends, but yeah, he was definitely influenced.
Like Wicked Pussycat or whatever.
That's the one. Yep. And like Kiss the Skull, sub songs like that. It's very chuggy kind of. It kind of has that Marilyn Manson kind of vibe too, and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah.
I would have to say my favorites would be Legacy of Brutality. I really like Final Descent for some reason lately. I just like, even though it's half Unholy Passion re-recorded or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Danzig 1, and then for a later one, I really liked Lost Tracks because.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, of course.
It had a Mark I lineup album on it, basically, and then the songs that he didn't choose for the albums were often better than the albums they were from the sessions of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'd agree with that.
Crawl Across Your Killing Floor and songs like even like what was that? Bound by Blood or whatever. That was really good stuff,
Yeah.
So I don't think he always chooses his best songs himself.
Yeah.
Yep, I would agree. I always forget about that one. It's weird. It's a really good one, but I always seem to forget about that one.
It's got a really weird, but it's weird, but I like it. It's got a cover of Bowie's Cat People on there.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, that's right.
I don't know why. I think he did a pretty good job with that one. It's really like heavy. Like it's just like your speakers. Like if you don't have a good pair of speakers, it's gonna sound like crap. But yeah, again, a weird production choice. But he did a really cool cover of that one.
I have to agree with that. I thought that was really cool. I thought the covers on there were good too. Yeah, all in all, I thought it was a really good package of music. I don't know. I don't like his. I think 666 is probably my favorite Latter Day one for some reason. It just kind of aged well to me, or better, even though it is kind of new metal, which is my arch nemesis.
Yeah.
But,
I like that album too. No, I like it a lot too. It's got like a song like Fire Mass. I think is really cool.
Yeah, it still has those like darker touches to it,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I remember even when it came out, Matt, you were kind of split on it.
I still am, but I'm split on everything. Anything past 4.
And it's weird because I like that one too. I think his voice sounds really shitty, but
yeah,
I think just all in all, the songs and everything they're all good. I mean, it's pretty good all across the board.
It is weird because that was a production thing. Like, his voice can sound really shitty on record, and I've seen him live maybe 2 or 3 times, and every time live he delivers. But for some reason, when he records his own voice, sometimes he fails. I don't know what it is.
And you can definitely notice it on Satan's Child. I mean, it's like you can notice there's a big difference. It's like, oh wow, he really, something happened there. With his voice, it's really hoarse. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. Even just from 5, where his vocals are all distorted and everything, it still sounds a lot. There are parts of 5 where he's singing without an awful lot of that stuff on his voice, and he actually sounds pretty good. And then 6, it's weird.
Yeah, he has a lot of. And I think sometimes he's. It's going to sound weird, but like, I think he focuses too much on carrying the metal thing forward when he could probably, dip into other genres. Like there was that Hank Williams III show that he did with like Stanton LaVey hosted it, rest in peace.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And then they did the Legacy thing. And I thought that was disappointing compared to that. Honestly, that was my thought. But I think he does better with like more low key stuff now in some ways. I mean, he's getting up there. He could still belt out the metal too, but it's just like I think he should diversify. That's just my opinion, but
yeah.
So let's see.
I mean, he's kind of, he 2 years ago he put out the Elvis thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of that one.
Yeah.
But I totally respect that he did it. I think if he would have done that back like in the 90s, I think it would have sounded so much better. And this is coming from an Elvis guy,
Sure.
So I was like looking forward to this. And he obviously chose the songs that he was going to sing for this album, and you should at least choose ones that you can sing. But I mean, for the most part, I don't know if you guys have heard it. He does okay.
Oh, I want it. Yeah.
But like, there's a couple, like the song "Love Me." I mean, I don't really know what's going on there. He sounds a lot like Mermaid Man from the SpongeBob cartoons. It's really weird.
Right. Yeah.
But again, that's also an example of the guy does what he wants to do, regardless of, people might whine and bitch that, oh shit, he's going to do an Elvis album. He does what he wants to do.
Well, from what I understand too, is and I've gone back and watched interviews from a long time ago. He's been talking about doing an Elvis album. I mean, since the early 90s. Yeah, there's interviews on like Headbangers Ball where he's like, yeah, I really want to do, an Elvis covers album and stuff. And so he's been talking about that for a long time.
Yeah, and it's always been in the back of my mind because, he did the song Trouble on that
Oh
EP,
yeah, on Thrall. Yeah,
which was I loved it.
yeah,
You
same
know, I
here.
thought
That's
that was
great.
great. Yeah, and so that has always been sort of in the back of my mind. When is he going to do that? You know, he's
Right.
not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it was underwhelming to me. You know, he basically chose 90% ballads to do, and there's really no drums on it. It's very sparse music-wise, but
Yeah.
I guess it's cool he finally got to do it.
I kind of
And
liked it.
yeah,
I liked it because it was like Sam Hain doing an Elvis album in a way. I just liked the vibe of it. I didn't love it. Get me wrong, but I thought it was cool. I thought it served it well. But I'm not as familiar with like I do like the '68 comeback special is the one I'm most familiar with in some of that time period of Elvis. So I'm not like as dived into Elvis as much. But I mean I really do like Elvis a lot. But
yeah.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was better than Skeletons for sure. It was a step up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, yeah.
Except for those two bikers like garage rock covers he did.
Yep. See, that's what I was gonna say.
Devil's Angel. Yeah.
I loved his the Satan Sadist theme that he sings. It's like the second song on there. I thought he did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird. Just the inconsistency of all the stuff, because you'll have one thing that's really brilliant, and then you'll have something that's just like quality control. Maybe that's what someone has to do is just sit down with them and like have some quality control over everything else.
What? But do you think he would listen to anyone though?
No,
right?
Not.
No. And one of the things that I see a lot with fans is you go on groups or forums or whatever, and a lot of things people say was, well, what he needs at this point in his career, he needs Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin needs to come back. It's like, I don't really think that's the case. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't think he has to have Rick Rubin to make a better sounding record.
I don't really want Rick Rubin.
What was that?
Right. He made some awesome sounding albums way before he even worked with Rick Rubin.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is with Rick Rubin, modern day, are we talking about modern day Rick Rubin or back in the day Rick Rubin? That's the differentiation.
Yeah.
Because I don't really like Rick Rubin's like modern forte all that much.
No, I don't either. No.
It's like, and I don't know, or some of those guys, they just got rich and up their own ass. But I don't think that's the case with Glenn. That's the thing I'm saying. Like, I think I agree. Like, I don't think he sold out, but he did.
No.
He did waver to some extent, but speaking of wavering, from a punch, I'm going to talk about the forbidden video. What were you guys' thoughts on the North Side?
Tuba City?
What? Yeah.
Incident at Tuba City.
Yeah. Oh, Tuba. I didn't know where it was. Is that Arizona?
I think it's Minnesota.
Oh, okay. But the North Side Kings. What?
I think I remembered the name because it is such a weird city name, and it's almost embarrassing to say you got punched out in a city by that name, Tuba City. I think that's why I remembered it. It's just such a dumb name.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to the people in Tuba City. It's just
I want to move there.
No offense, yeah.
The image I get in my head when I hear Tuba City, the picture I get is just cartoonish.
Yeah, it does sound like a cartoon. But what are you guys' thoughts on what happened? The punch.
Well, okay, I guess I'll rant about that for a minute. Honestly, he was totally asking for that. Now, I know that whole incident, kind of sparked, the fans immediately came to his rescue on that one. But it looks like he wasn't expecting a response. Like, he pushed the guy. I mean, he did kind of start it. He pushed the guy, fuck you. And the guy just reacted. For all we know, I don't know anything about that other guy. For all I know, he's been in a ton of fights his whole life. And he just reacted. Yeah. And then you get all these people like, if that had been a fair fight, Glenn would have kicked his ass. But, I mean, that's really not the case.
No.
I'm sure if it was a structured MMA fight, maybe Danzig would beat him. But it was just this little incident where two guys were just reacting and not even thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
there's a video of a guy he's claiming that he was at that gig. I think he said he was doing sound, It's on YouTube. Maybe I'll link it to you, Matt, if you haven't seen it. But he basically gives a rundown of what happened, and apparently that show was a disaster. I guess when Danzig was sound checking, it took him almost 4 hours to sound check because they couldn't get the right sound. So all the bands were backed up, and so everyone was getting their stage time cut short, and it was just a huge disaster. And so everyone in the bands were all, they were all pissed off. And the whole thing of, I guess what happened was when the Northside Kings were playing, they cut their set short and they started ripping down the banners. And I guess that's what started that whole thing. That's what started that whole confrontation. And man, I think I agree with you, Bob. I think he just, I think he pushed him, and he did not expect the guy to just all of a sudden just hammer him.
Right. And it's like, don't start something you can't finish. If you're going to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was really just overblown. Like, I think they should have just stopped. I hate when, media just talks about something over and over again. It's obvious, but it was just like, it got a little too much hype.
I remember when that happened. I remember that was like 2004, I think, wasn't it? It was somewhere around there. And
yeah,
it was all over like streaming sites. It was everywhere. It was like one of the.
It even showed up on that show that like America's Dumbest. Where you have like Tanya Harding and Danny Bonaducci watching videos and commenting on them or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It even showed up on there.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was it's just silly, silly stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that Northside Kings guy wrote a book or something about.
Yeah, he wrote a book about it. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, I guess he was getting death threats from the fans and stuff, and it was pretty, this whole mess. But yeah,
I know they were accused of setting that up to get publicity for their band. I don't think
I heard about that. Yeah.
Maybe they just took advantage of the situation, but who knows? I'm just like, I just wanted to
right. People do anything. There's no such thing as, bad publicity, but I don't really think that that's what they were going for.
No, I don't either.
How did he know that somebody would be recording it right at that moment?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
If you were in a band and, you're not extremely well known. You're trying to get known to people. You're on this bill with, this major guy, and your set gets shut down. I'd be pissed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Glenn has he has ego issues, as we all know.
No,
not at all.
But like, it's hard to be a fan sometimes with just hearing about the stuff about him. Someone had a camera in the crowd, and he goes and grabs throws the camera down, or tosses his cell phone or whatever. I don't know. There's been all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, what was that one? Some years back. This was probably like 10 years ago. That there was that whole thing at some big festival in Chicago, I think, and he, I guess he was, showed up and he was claiming he was sick, and it's like. He was just demanding all this outrageous stuff from the venue. He wanted a doctor on site and like B12 injections, and I don't know.
That's
how much
right.
Of that is,
he was really sick. Yep.
Not to go too much into the psychology of Glenn Anzalone or whatever, however you pronounce his last name, but I think one of it. I've been reading a lot about the punk scene in like New York and stuff like that, and like. It was tough, especially if you weren't like super into like drugs, like he's is proclaimed to be, like not into drugs and stuff. Like if you were in that crowd, that was just tough to. I can kind of see his situation of him just like confronting this huge like tough persona just to like protect himself from the chaos that was going on around him, because there was a lot of. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the night Sid Vicious died, Jerry Only was hanging out with him.
Right,
I heard about that. Yeah,
it's just crazy. I didn't even know that until recently. I've just been reading all these books about punk and stuff, and kind of punk face. So,
Yeah, I'm sure in order to be I don't think he was like a straight edge guy, but yeah, to kind of not be into all that insanity, yeah, I'm sure he had to kind of toughen up.
Yeah, that's how I see it. It's like you have this vision. He's definitely a nerd. I mean, he's into the Japanese anime stuff. A lot of different stuff like that.
Oh
So,
yeah, the
which all makes sense to me.
comics.
Yeah,
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 Verotica and stuff. Yeah, or Verotic. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, he's kind of he is a nerd, but he's a nerd with an edge. Someone called me that
Mhm.
once, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, no, I get the ego to some extent because of that. I just thought about this more recently, like he just has to protect himself, because of that, and just New York was a tough place in the '70s. Oh my God.
Oh
Um,
yeah, big time.
I mean, as much
Yeah.
as I would love to like buy a loft apartment for $500 a month, back in like if I could equivalent to $500 today, that would be great. But
Yeah.
it would be cool. But it was a rough
Right.
place. So
Now going back a bit, you mentioned that show where he was sick, but do you remember like in a fairly recent, maybe it was even one of the Misfits revival things where he like was requesting people give up their phones
Oh, he does
when
that
they?
at every gig.
Oh,
Yeah.
he does.
Yeah, that's his thing. I've seen him twice. I've saw him once in 2010 and 2013, and there was a no phone policy at both shows.
Oh,
oh
all
wow.
right.
I
Yeah.
don't think they
And do
did
you,
that the last time I saw
and
him.
do you remember a video? It's not that old, where he's singing Blood and Tears, and then he just stops and he just yells like it's somebody who's recording him.
Yeah, he tells him people to beat him up or something like that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And what's so funny about that is that he's singing Blood and Tears of all the songs. It's just funny
Yeah.
that he's singing that and then just stops in the middle of that and starts yelling at this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's weird. That's wild.
Yes. So, I've never seen him live.
Oh wow.
I know
Okay.
both of you have.
Yeah.
I when we were young, when I was 14, the newest album out, or 13, was the second one, and he was touring for that. And the advertise and they were coming. He was coming to Madison, and the commercials were all over TV. And I mean, to say I was excited, that's just total understatement because I'd never been to a show before of any kind. And this was Danzig, and I was at the height of my love for him.
Yeah.
And my mother said it was okay. I begged her, and she said, fine, she'll take me. She'll drop me off there. But then one night we're watching TV and the commercial comes on again. And they just show a bunch of scenes from like the Killer Wolf video. Danzig's coming to town.
Yeah.
And it's just this deep voiced guy. And then he comes up and I'm like, hey, that's the show. And then he comes on to say, find out why they've been banned in over 30 countries.
I
don't know
if it-
I don't know if it was 30, if that was the number, but you know what I mean. He's X
Yeah.
amount of countries. And then my mother just completely changed her mind. You are not going to that.
Oh man. That sucks.
So she saw that goddamn commercial, and I never got to see them on the Lucifuge tour.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I was pissed.
I almost went to that too, and I can't remember what happened exactly, but my friend went there. I think got the pick or whatever. James, I think he gave you that pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he got to
Gary
see
Vaughn pick.
because his mom worked at the Barrymore where they played. I'm not trying to. So long ago, I'm not doxing anyone, so nobody knows what I'm talking about. But like, yeah, he got to see. I think he got to see it for free because we saw a bunch of movies there when I was friends with them, and we went to see for free because she was working there, like Drugstore Cowboy. That was a messed up movie. But anyways, yeah, the Danzig. Yeah, I missed him until 2000 or 1999. Disturbed and. God, who else opened? Mudvayne? So maybe I don't know.
Oh God.
Or maybe
Wow.
that was Anthrax. I think maybe that might have been Anthrax that opened.
Okay.
I remember I saw Anthrax with you, and Mudvayne was one of the open.
Okay, I'm confusing the two. I'm just...
Yeah.
But Disturbed, yeah, I mean, it was interesting seeing that. That was a good show. I think it was
Yeah.
the 666 tour, and it was really good. I think Todd Youth was the guitarist, so I really liked
Yeah.
Todd Youth.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah.
he was actually, it wasn't him. I think he was actually the one. This is even weirder. He was with, I don't know if it was him or one of the other guys in Howie Pyro was, okay, Howie Pyro was with him too, the bass player. I think that was the lineup. And Howie Pyro was one of the people with Jerry Only, Sid Vicious's mom, Ann Beverly, and Sid Vicious, and who else was his girlfriend? I forgot, Michelle, whatever, I forgot her last name. The night he died. No, that's Nancy.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah.
Totally wrong.
Yeah.
Really interesting, that the guy that was with Sid Vicious when he died later turned up in a Danzig lineup, but
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
I know you actually saw them once where he had Sam Hand opening.
Never.
It was like Sam Hand Danzig.
I almost went to that. I never saw that, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
No, I wish I would have seen that. That was one I met. That was the Sam Hain box set tour.
Oh, right.
That was like something I was really excited about, but I missed it. I saw him in 2010, I believe. It was or 2011. It was Death Row Sabbath.
Was it the Blacks of the Black tour?
It wasn't. No, it was just an independent tour. I don't remember who opened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. At the time. It was really good. He delivered, he's really good live, like I said. So getting back to do you guys ever buy any of his comics?
I never have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't either. I've been wanting to, and the reason is because I found out recently, not even probably a year ago, but he actually had a Japanese anime movie coming out. It was set to come out. And it was based on one of the comics. This was I think this was 99 or 2000, and there's a trailer for it and everything, and it looks solid. But I guess what happened was the production company wanted way too much money because it was going to be like a really big budget anime movie. So, and it was based on one of those.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh shit. Okay, I thought my internet was going. Yeah, I actually saw some stuff about that too. I did buy a couple of erotic comics. But speaking of that, so have either of you seen any of his two movies that are out? His actual movies?
I've seen the first one. Yeah.
I saw Verotica or whatever it's called. Yes.
Yeah.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something.
I remember back in the 90s, we were hearing talk from him about him wanting to do a movie. And something about, I think he wanted to say I think he said back then he wanted to do some sort of New Orleans voodoo type movie.
Oh,
and for years and years, we're waiting for this. I can only imagine, though, in the 90s, it would have been tougher for him to get a movie going than it is now. Now it's kind of easier to do. But now that it's been unleashed, I'm a connoisseur of bad movies. I have the Andy Milligan box set. If you don't know who Andy Milligan is, look him up. But this, I had a very difficult time with this erotica movie.
Yeah, I did too, for sure.
It's rough. Yeah, it's rough.
Oh,
I remember when it first came out. I remember I was pretty excited. I hadn't watched a trailer for it or anything, but all of a sudden, all the articles start rolling in, and it's bad. Everyone's saying. I think the first one I saw is they're calling it the equivalent of a horror movie to The Room.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this is not." But I had to see it for myself, and it's rough. It's the fake accents was just, oh my god.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder if he's trying to do it bad on purpose because he did name his record label Plan 9, but then again, I think about it, I don't know if he is, but it's like, I think like someone like Rob Zombie is competent as a filmmaker, but I think Rob Zombie is competent, but he just the way it's delivered is not. It's okay, but it doesn't go to the higher level of good horror.
Right. Rob Zombie knows the filmmaking process. For whether you like his movies or not, he does know what he's doing.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, Dan. I'm not sure if Danzig did or not.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think Glenn doesn't know what he's doing, but he has cool concepts.
Right. He knew what he
Yeah.
wanted. Yeah.
I mean, the concepts are really cool. And I mean, in different hands, they'd be, different everything. It'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
the storyline of this anthology, the storylines, I have no complaints over those. You know, the ideas are cool horror ideas.
Yeah.
It was just the execution of them. That's all.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, yeah, I have one of the original comics that has the girl with the eyeball tits or whatever. I think that's one of the comics I have.
Yeah.
I mean, that was cool. I thought the last segment was almost semi okay. The Elizabeth Bathory one could have been. I mean, that had potential. The rest of it was just, yeah.
Yeah, he was going for a Mario Bava or a Hammer. I mean, I could see what he wanted with that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It did not work out in his favor.
And do you remember, I don't remember what year it came out, but The Prophecy 2, it was a straight-to-video sequel.
He was in that.
And Glenn Danzig as Samael or whatever.
Yeah.
But all he does is he like hops down in the middle of an alley and gets the shit kicked out of him, and then that's it. It's like you didn't even know it was him.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, there were rumors in Hollywood that were not Hollywood, but rumors in the metal mags that he wanted to play Wolverine for so long, and I thought that would have been interesting,
That would have been awesome. Give him a few acting classes. That would have been great.
Yeah.
And I think Jeff Tate wanted to play the vampire Lestat in the 80s, too. I remember reading an interview with him. That's pretty interesting, too, but that's unrelated to this.
That's interesting, yeah.
That would have been interesting, too. Well, okay, if we're going along those lines, and this is kind of common knowledge, Blackie Lawless was the first choice to play the T-2000 in Terminator 2.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Fun fact.
That's a guy that's had, not to contrast them, but I think Blackie Lawless, like the later... Other than like maybe what was that one called the really crazy one from the 90s? Kill Fuck Die. The one after that.
El Dorado?
Yeah, that one is that's kind of a lack of quality, but I think pretty much through his career he's had pretty good quality in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. But
yeah, I agree.
Now, Matt, you said you have seen his most recent, the Vampire Western one?
Yes, which
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's quite a trip. I like what's his name, Devon Sawa, because I saw The Fanatic, and I'm a fan of that movie with John Travolta because it's just so bad it's good. It's terrible movie, terrible movie. But I like it. I like his performance in that. So I guess Devon Sawa is kind of a cult movie guy now or something with all these other movies he's done. I haven't really seen much of it other than The Fanatic, but he did okay, but like. That movie, just from the start, it's going to be pretty shitty because there's like this stripper porn actress on the back of a horse. Devon Sawa is like a cowboy, and she's wearing like some modern day stripper like silvery thing or whatever with her.
Yeah.
It's like it goes on for like 20 minutes where he's riding this horse. To be fair, I don't think you guys have seen it, but it was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. And but the soundtrack, the score is excellent, and the original song he does with vocals.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
Better.
Yeah,
it's really good. I mean, the music is really good. The movie is awful. Danny Trejo is in it too, and
that's right.
So is Julian Sands, right?
Yes, and. Yeah. He's the only one that actually sort of can act in it. I mean, even Devon Sawa does pretty shitty. I don't really know how it went so wrong. I mean, I don't know where to put it on the scale with Veronica. I don't know if I would say it's better, but I don't.
Yeah. It seemed, and I have yet to see it, but it seems like with the title of the movie, he's at least kind of aware to a certain degree of what he's doing. He knows it's sort of schlock.
Yeah,
I think he does.
I think so too. Yeah.
It's rough though. It's it's hard to watch. I watched it in 3 sittings because I downloaded this pirated version. Obviously, he can sue me if he wants. If he's not going to. I'm just kidding. But
it's still right now not available anywhere.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's not. Yeah.
I bought it from this Czech pirate site, and it had all these ads. Like they put all these ads like in the middle of scenes. Like they would have an ad. Well, it was like only 2 or 3 times, but they would have this ad for some kind of like, I don't know if it was like crypto company or something.
Oh God, yeah.
It was really annoying. But then you got to see the rest of the movie. But yeah, I watched the whole movie in like 3 sittings. That's how long it took for me to sit.
Yeah, that's how you know it's. Yeah.
But that first scene it goes on forever. Where this girl
that
on the
just
back
sounds
of the horse.
ridiculous.
I think he serves the woman to the vampire. I'm not going to give away too much about it, but he serves this woman that's on the back of the horse to the vampires.
Okay.
I mean, are you sure you even saw a final cut, or maybe like a work print? Maybe it's not even supposed to go on that long. The beginning.
No, because the song, like the way that the song was set up with the intro and stuff, I think it was. I don't know. Who knows though? Who knows? It's weird. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Now, wait. Is Danzig himself in that movie?
He is. If I remember, was he a bartender? No, I don't.
Yeah, I think he's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
I think he calls himself in the movie. His name in the movie is like Bad Bathory or something like that.
Yeah, it says Bathory. Yeah, something Bathory. It's pretty bad. I mean, I don't know if I think I like it more than Veronica because of the soundtrack, because it's very Morricone. And he tries to go for that vibe, and I wish I could mute the dialogue and just like have it play, the score. That's why I've been looking for the score, because that's the theme song's excellent. I can't find it anywhere, but it's awesome. Maybe I'll rip it and put it on YouTube or something. I'll try to rip that song, but then I'll get sued or something.
Yeah, you get in trouble for that one. Yeah,
copyright. Yeah,
right.
No, but overall, like, I don't know when he's going to do. I don't know if he'll ever do a good movie. But those early Danzig videos, I mean, he had a lot to do with the creative process of that. So I don't really get it. But if obviously more competent people were helping him out, so
yeah. Well, you look back, a lot of his videos always, even back in the day, you watch his classic cuts. All those videos they had a little bit of a cheesy factor to them.
Oh yeah, a lot of beefcake shots of him in those,
Right.
Which, hey, I guess if I looked like that, I can't blame.
I'd do the same thing, yeah. Exactly.
I mean, especially the She Rides video, with him and the other guys, and he's doing all the flexing, and you got all those women around. I wasn't even sure how to feel about that as an adolescent kid. Just a lot of confusion.
Right.
It was a time. Yeah, it was I seem to have like this feeling that Danzig really likes really voluptuous, but like artificially voluptuous women. Like that's his forte. Like who was he?
Oh yeah.
Was his girlfriend was some kind of, I don't know what she was, some model.
She was a model. I guess he met her on the set of Veronica, I guess, or something like that. And she looks like very, like you said, very, kind of plastic, very enhanced.
It kind of reminds me of Manowars covers, with it's like similar to that. Like they both. I don't know about those guys themselves, but I know Danzig just likes that look for some reason, which it's not exactly that's not my cup of joe, exactly.
Yeah, not your forte. Yeah.
No.
He also likes them with like, demon horns and wings and stuff too.
Oh yeah,
he likes those devil women.
The devil women.
He does.
Yeah.
That's like the Gods of War cover, like Manowar. The Gods of War. That's the type of women he likes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Danzig's music videos did, later look looked pretty good. I do remember the Her Black Wings video looking nice, and the How the Gods Kill video was pretty good.
Yeah.
They were looking a little more professional, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just needs to like be able to delegate things a little bit more, and I think that's his problem. I think that's one of his main problems. His ego is too big for him to like just have the humility to let someone else help out with something. You know, even if it's still his vision, all songs written by Glenn Danzig, all that. You know.
Well, and when you read the sleeve, like when you list the band members, you know, Glenn Danzig, vocals, you know, marimba, piano, it's like anything he even had anything to do with, he wants to credit himself with.
Of course, yeah.
And I remember like a guy I worked with said, you know, if he were in the studio and he backed up against a knob, he'd probably credit himself with mixing the album.
Well, that's what he does now. I mean, pretty much. When he tries to play drums on the Skeletons, it's just abhorrent, you know, it's pretty much. I think on what is it called? Final Descent, he did okay, but I think the drum machine half the time anyways in that. But
that's what I was thinking, that's what it sounds like in some spots.
Yeah. It's kind of like Quorthon. I've been listening to Bloodfire Death a lot when I drive to work. And I'm like, oh, that's a drum machine. That sounds like a real cymbal, but that's definitely a drum machine, that fast part, you know. I think he probably mixed the two. It's pretty interesting to think about, but yeah.
Now, have either of you heard the Black Aria 2?
I have not.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
The which
I'm kind of interested. Black Aria 2?
You know, I haven't heard Black Aria 2 either.
Yeah. I should get around to that. It's not on any streaming sites or anything.
Yeah, that's what sucks about streaming. I mean,
I'm sure it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, I will say the one thing I thought was cool that he had done. I don't think he does it anymore, but I always thought it was cool. Was the Blackest of the Black tour?
Mm-hmm.
He would really bring over some bands that, especially at the time, you look at those really early ones from like 2002, 2003. He was bringing over bands like Mayhem and.
I never knew they were on there.
Yeah, they were like one of the first ones, and he brought over, just some really obscure bands, and that's kind of cool, especially at the time, because a lot of those bands hadn't really made. I think even I'm not a huge fan, but like Nergal from Behemoth said that. The only reason they blew up in the States is because, Danzig brought him over for one of those early Blackest of the Black ones. And so I always thought that was cool. He would always bring out some really cool bands.
That's cool.
That is really cool because he is obviously into so much stuff and he really loves it. And he does his part, like with that tour to try to get him exposed.
Yeah.
He likes so many different things. He wrote that song for Roy Orbison. He wrote the one for Johnny Cash.
Right.
We didn't talk about that. That's really cool. Like the Lesson Zero one.
Lesson Zero. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
He has a lot of stuff in the vault too that I think he could probably release. There's a bunch of stuff. There was a ballad that was supposed to be on Death Red Sabbath or whatever, however you pronounce that. It was like a ballad that he said he was like has all this organ on and stuff, but he never released it. But he does a lot of stuff like. I can kind of relate to this. Like he'll say that he'll do something. It'll take him years to do it, but he finally does. And it's like
finally gets it,
but he'll do it. Like
right?
The movie thing.
Yeah.
It gets done eventually.
Yeah, because the movie thing he was talking about in the '80s, like doing a horror anthology with Pusshead, that interview. I think.
That's right. Yeah, that's like a 3-hour interview.
Talking about the Elvis album, and eventually he did that too.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yep. And then allegedly he's going to do a blues album with Jerry Cantrell, but I don't know what happened to that too.
Oh, they've been talking about that. Well, didn't Jerry Cantrell play some guitar on Black Acid Devil? He did, right?
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he did some on like Come to Silver and a couple. Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it would be a cool combination. I have to say, like as long as it's not like whatever Black Acid Devil is.
Oh
but...
yeah. Yeah.
Not a big fan.
Well, even the song he's on is kind of the standout on the album too. It sort of has the sound of the rest of the album, but at the same time it has the least of that sound.
Yeah, yeah,
It's probably the best song on there.
yeah. That's just
Really
that's what I was
good.
just gonna say. Yeah.
And back to not to talk about Metallica, but Metallica has been kind of responsible for a lot of his ascent into music superstardom.
Oh
But
yeah, definitely.
so
Oh,
Cliff.
like
absolutely.
the Cliff Burton, with a tattoo, and Misfits tattoo, and
Right.
just uncovering him. In fact, they even ripped off Danzig too. I don't know if you noticed this, but the song "Frantic" off the Saint Anchor.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, Kirk Hammett claims to have written this lyric about death is pain, life is pain. That's off Sam Hain. That's off an
that is
issue.
that's
Right.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
I'm sure that was in his head somewhere. Maybe he thinks it's the Samsara Buddhist concept or whatever, which it is. But it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he rips that off from from Fantastic.
Yeah, you look at those early Metallica pictures, and I swear to God, 90% of them, the band photos, one of them is wearing either a Misfits or a Sam Hain shirt.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
pretty crazy.
You know?
And I will admit, I had the Garage Days cassette tape, and I heard, The Last Caress Green Hell from Metallica before I ever heard any actual Misfits songs.
Yeah, I think that was.
So I
yeah.
was exposed to it, I guess, first through Metallica.
Yeah, I was too, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of that
Yeah, I
those
like that one
songs.
too.
Yeah, which is weird. I mean, at that age, how old were we? I think I was 10 when I got that. I didn't know those were cover songs at the time.
Oh wow.
Well, I was 10. I didn't know.
I didn't know what a bass guitar was back then, so I didn't know what Steve Harris did when I bought Lab After Death. It's like, what's a bass? Like, is that like some kind of vocal thing?
Right. Yeah, as you go singer.
Yeah, I thought he was like kind of a singer, but not a singer. I don't know what that
Yeah.
meant until I started watching that. But yeah,
Dad is saying bass.
but yeah, Danzig's. But yeah, I hope I hope he goes into his elder years and does some cool stuff. I hope he does a good movie eventually. Well, that's not. That's not
Yeah,
gonna
same
mean.
here.
I hope his projects get done. He's been a big influence on my life too. I mean, I can say like he's
Oh yeah.
a lot of
Right. He's been a constant presence since I was like 12. He's always been there.
Yeah.
Yep. And that music, I mean, it's like that early stuff. I mean, it's timeless. Though that early Danzig material, that stuff is just fantastic. It aged. It's aged so well.
Yeah, you can listen to Lucifuge, and it's not like someone's going to say, "Oh, this is so 1990."
No,
it doesn't have that. Yeah,
no, yeah,
it doesn't have the '90s thing.
right. It doesn't
right.
sound like it comes from a particular time period like that. It's really awesome.
That's why Danzig 1 is my favorite, because I'm like, it could have been recorded in 1978, with it just has like a really dry, weird AC/DC-ish production, but like even
it does,
more obscure, and
Right.
then
And more evil.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, a little more evil. Yeah.
I know Glenn is not a fan of the production of that album. Same with like Steve Harris, not like in the first Iron Maiden album, but I just think it sounds perfect for that whole thing.
But he's okay with skeletons.
Yeah,
I don't.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, him and like Yngwie Malmsteen just like need to take the ego down a notch, and just like listen to other people as far as like at least like helping out with certain things, not taking over their everything that they do, but like I think they're just too proud, That's just my rant about Glenn and his thing. But
so what do you think of the new Misfits tour? Like these new Misfit shows?
Oh, the reunion shows?
Yeah.
Well, the tickets are outrageous. I don't know if you've ever.
I'll bet they are. Well, there was some. I know they've come to Chicago, and of course, I was tempted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I can only imagine what the ticket prices are. Jesus.
Isn't it only like a half an hour?
Well, I have a buddy who saw it, and the thing was, it was at a big arena. I mean, we're talking, some hockey stadium. He said they sounded great. The band sounded fantastic. But, it was just the tickets were just, I think it was like $300 per ticket or something like that. Something just out ridiculous like that. And
I bet you that price doesn't even get you up in the front either.
No, that's what I was just going to say. It wasn't even,
Yeah, they're making bank from that. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't. It was never going to happen, but it did. But I mean, I've seen both Danzig and Misfits without each other. I don't know if I'd go to that or not. I mean, if it was a cheaper ticket, maybe, or free, or at a festival, maybe I'd see it, but I don't.
Well, yeah,
but that is the thing. I never thought we would see that reunion. Honestly, I thought they just hated each other.
Right.
Well, same with Guns N' Roses. They never were going to reunite either, but the money calls. I think like I've said before, and I don't think any of those guys went through divorce, but like when there's usually when a band reunites, there's some kind of financial reason, like with
kids, something.
Like
they're older and they're probably getting closer to retiring.
Yeah.
Well, I saw in 2013 he was doing the legacy shows, and he had it was the shows where he would bring out Doyle halfway through the set, and they'd go into they'd play like 8 Misfit songs. And then he'd go back into his regular set, and then he'd bring Doyle out again for like another 3 Misfit songs. And I was absolutely just stoked to see that, because at the time, it was like no one thought a Misfits reunion was ever going to happen. It's like that's probably going to be the best we're going to get.
And that's what he said about it too. He's like, "This is the best we're going to get." Literally.
Yep. Yeah,
and they sounded great. They sounded fucking awesome. But and then all of a sudden, I think it was, I think those reunion shows was like 2018 or something like that when they started coming around. I was like, oh wow, okay.
If anything, I'd rather see a original lineup Danzig show or have seen the Sam Hain reunions than the Misfits reunion. And I love the Misfits, but it's just like, Jerry only. I mean, it doesn't have. I don't know. I mean, I'd probably go see it. I'm just saying it's way too much money.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously not a early 80s lo-fi punk show anymore. It's a huge stadium event, but if it weren't priced so highly, yes, it would be a thing to see for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing that Misfits reunion. They're doing another show, and they're playing over Alice Cooper. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy.
Wow.
Nobody should play over Alice Cooper in my opinion.
Yeah, like they're ahead of Alice Cooper at a few gigs, and I'm just like, this is pretty nuts. The demand must just be, I don't know. It's massive.
That said, he opened for Iron Maiden too, but
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, that is weird because he's responsible for the Misfits very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
responsible for everything pretty much. But yeah, it's I'd see. That's my regret is not seeing the Sam Hain 2000 tour or Danzig Sam Hain tour. That was he did another Sam Hain. I don't know if you remember this in 2014. He did a Sam Hain tour. It was really short. It was only like 6 or 7 dates. Yeah,
but the lineup was weird. It was he brought out the guitar player from this band called Baroness. I don't know if you've ever heard of them before.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
They're like a Mastodon kind of style band. So he played guitar, and I was like, that's a really weird combination. And I think it was Johnny Kelly on drums, and I think Steve Zing was on bass. So I didn't catch that show either, but I definitely regret it. I would have loved to have seen that.
I have no idea what he has against Yuri Von. I don't know what.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
Because to me, even if he's not just like Jerry Only's not. It's like you don't know Jerry Only's bass playing when you hear it really necessarily. Not to insult him, I'm trying to insult him, but it's like that. It's like that it's like closer to that chemistry. Like a lot of bands, you can't hear, what their individual part in the band is, but like there was a chemistry there. So I would see a Yuri Von reunion with him with Sam Hain. I thought he should have been included in that, but kind of sad.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, even with John Christ, I mean, I've seen some recent. He's done a lot of recent interviews over the years, like the past 5 years, and he every time he's asked about it, it's like, hey, would you play with Glenn again? And he's like, man, I'm ready to go tomorrow. I'm ready to
he's like, he just basically says, I know I'll never get that call. So
he seems like a really nice guy too. I mean,
he does.
That's what he says.
Now, I know I must have read something about this at some time and forgot about it, but now, do either of you know what is the exact reason that band got kicked to the curb?
So from what I've heard, it was a couple reasons. I guess Chuck wasn't happy in the band. I guess he hadn't been happy for a long time. By the time Danzig 4 came out, he was just like over the whole thing. And I guess when it comes to John Christ, from what I've read, he just, I guess he felt like he was held back. Glenn really held him back guitar wise. He wanted to do more flashy kind of stuff on guitar, and Glenn was like, no, I don't want you to solo too much. I don't want you doing all this. And I'm not sure what happened with Eerie Vaughn. That's just kind of what I've heard.
I think there might be some other reasons, like maybe money. I think there's probably some money. I just have this weird suspicion there's like
because at the time,
because it was all three members, just boom, just gone.
Right.
I think it kind of one after the other. They're like, oh, he left, I'm going to leave. It's just the circumstances of I don't mean money, but like, I think John Christ actually wanted more credit too. That's I think, if I remember correctly, because the first, at least the first album, I know that it wasn't necessarily all songs written by Glenn Danzig. That whole tagline, it was basically Rick Rubin, John Christ, and Glenn sitting there and hammering out songs. Of course, Danzig had mostly like the structure of the songs, but obviously, right. And that's one thing I don't like. That's one thing I don't like about Glenn is like trying to take credit for all the songwriting all the time. Also, right. I laughed my ass off at that.
Right. See, I got to imagine John had a lot to say about what the guitar playing was going to be on the album. Yeah.
I mean, if you listen, and Tommy Victor, I like him in Prawn. But in Danzig, I just don't think he fits in Danzig. He just doesn't.
No, I don't like his tone, and it just doesn't sound right.
Todd Youth was closer to John Christ. That's why like The Lost Tracks is probably my favorite Latter Day one. But John Christ is a phenomenon on guitar. He's one of my favorite guitarists, honestly.
Oh yeah, same here. And I think another thing at the time, especially when all the members were starting to split. I think he had a falling out with Rubin at the same time.
Yes.
I think he was getting, I don't know if I think he quit his label. It was Def Jam. And then it seems like there's just a ton of turmoil going on. And I guess it just ultimately just went downhill.
Yeah. And then the thing that makes me mad about Glenn is that he has all this revisionist history about it. Like, oh, it was never meant to be the same lineup for 4 albums, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I've heard him say that.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Where do you know? Yeah. I mean, that's the main stuff. That's the main one people like is the first lineup.
Right.
Not everything, but But yeah, one of the things that I don't know if you guys seen that Legacy. I watched part of it. The one that's kind of modeled after Elvis's '68 comeback special. Where they're in a circle and, he's...
Right, yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't like what you would think it would be. Like, that's why I like the Hank III thing, that June 6, 2006 show, which I'm going to try to find. Because, Stanton LaVey, the grandson of Anton LaVey, had it on his... He was the only one that had it had an accessible copy of that on his website. Right. But he's deceased now, and I don't know what happened with that. But that was to me, that was Danzig Legacy, was that show, because it was so cool because they played unplugged and stuff a lot of the time, and Hank III could really play that kind of style,
Right.
But watching Tommy Victor play through like a solid state amp, distorted, that was supposed to be unplugged, and it wasn't unplugged. It just was. It was just so bad. Hard to say.
Yeah.
And the production was just not. I mean, just the visuals and everything, it just wasn't. It was, and I think it was like a pay-per-view thing he did. That was the Danzig Legacy, I think it was like something. Could have been.
Yeah, I didn't see.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's unfortunately not as good as it could be. That's what I'm saying. But
Yeah, missed opportunity.
That's a
it
shame.
is. And I don't know if he like tells him to play all the squeals just like John Christ did.
Oh, the pitch harmonics.
Pitch harmonics, yeah. I mean,
I noticed they're really excessive. John did it a lot. I mean, I'm not a guitar expert, but I hear that shit a lot now with the recent albums. Yeah.
Yeah, they're everywhere. It's just I don't know if you guys ever heard the cover he did of NIB, the Black Sabbath cover.
Yep, that's on the Skeletons.
Oh my goodness, there's pinch harmonics everywhere, and it's just like what are you doing? Like what? Oh my goodness.
And it's a funny thing is I like the Prawn album, like the early Prawn albums and Cleansing and those albums.
Yeah, actually, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I thought they were cool too. Yeah,
but it just doesn't work with him. And I don't know what I think it's probably Glenn's fault. Yeah. He's not playing what he could, but John Christ just had that feel better.
Yeah, and Danzig's done all these over the past few years. He's done a lot of these shows where he's playing his albums in entirety now. He did Lucifuge in entirety. He did How the Gods Kill, and it's I've seen the footage of it, and it sounds okay, but I mean it's not, it's Tommy Victor playing guitar, so it just doesn't have that same magic.
No, that's something I've really realized with Danzig, because like I used to think bands, like if a band was like replacing a member, oh well, they have to write, like my perception is that they have to be like, oh, they didn't write all the songs, so that's the only difference that they make because they weren't like the songwriter or whatever. But the chemistry of members is really important. Is like people, how they bounce off each other and vibe off each other in a band situation. It's not only just like who's writing the songs. So it's interesting that you hear that with Danzig and stuff. So.
And those first four, even though each of those first four albums, they all sound different from one another, but you can tell it's the same group. I mean, and I'm not even a musician, like, a guitar player, but I mean, I can tell you're dealing with the same band, and they're really have a unique sound.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
The same way I can tell the band he's with now. On those, I can tell it's that band too.
Oh yeah. Make no mistake. Yeah, especially like you said, those early albums. It's so distinct. I mean, especially Chuck. I mean, he's one of my favorite drummers of all time. I mean, his drumming is just fantastic.
Yep, I'm surprised he's not praised a little more. It's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah,
he's great.
You watch him play live, and he was just intense. I mean, he pounded the hell out of his drums. It was like, just, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I wish I would have seen the original lineup, but it was cool seeing Danzig. But yeah, I wish I would have.
Yeah,
I would have if they hadn't been banned in 30 countries.
Yeah, that's like Mattowarrior's claim of being like dropped by 20 record labels.
Record labels? Yeah.
So silly.
Good
hyperbole.
Lord.
I liked some of that hyperbole that people use. It's kind of funny, but I can see through it now. But that's bullshit.
Oh yeah. It's
But I think we'll have one more thing. I'm gonna. Oh, what's wrong with my computer? One more thing I'm gonna cover, and I'm gonna probably close it out. But if you both had one piece of advice to give Glenn right now, what would it be?
Oh man. Whew. Okay.
Well, very, very, very simple. Just be open to suggestion. That's about it.
Yeah.
I would say I would probably say the same thing. Be open to suggestion and just and I honestly, I know it's cliche, but I would probably say, if you're going to do any more of these reunion type shows, at least bring out, Christ or Erie Vaughn. I mean, if you can reconcile with Jerry only after everything that happened,
And Jerry only
exactly.
Jerry only seems to have like the opposite personality of Glenn too, and I don't think necessarily like Erie Vaughn is that different from Glenn.
No, exactly. So that would be mine.
But money talks too. I mean, obviously, it was stadium shows. Stadiums,
Yeah, of course. Arenas,
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's just crazy just to think about. But it's cool that people like cool stuff, a lot more people. I mean, one of the things about things like growing up, like Misfits was kind of a edgy band to listen to, or metal was edgy, and now like everybody likes the Misfits and Iron Maiden. It's kind of
of course.
It's
Yeah, but the Misfits are definitely the little band that could. I mean, when they were around, nobody knew about them except for their hardcore fan base.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like you said, now they're doing stadiums. It's pretty amazing.
It is.
Oh yeah.
Wonder if there'll be Rock and Roll Hall of Famers sometime too.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's interesting to watch. You never know.
Because Iron Maiden's up. Yeah.
They'll just have to wait behind like Reba McEntire and.
You never know, though. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're making a lot of money, so there's those guys in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame are probably taking a look. It's like, these guys have been playing for so long, and I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he would tell them to fuck off, though. Hopefully,
I think Glenn seems like the kind that would not be up for that,
And that would be
no, yeah, he wouldn't be.
No.
Like the whole thing with the Sex Pistols writing that letter. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but
yeah,
I heard about. Oh yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna probably conclude it there. Anything else you guys want to have to say, or anything to promote?
No, man. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do this for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. Kind of revisiting Danzig.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Probably get off and go shopping. So talk to you guys later. That was great.
All right.
Absolutely.